I truly realised just how different my dad was at the end of Year 7. By this stage in my life, I had started to develop friendships and establish myself in a social group. I faced minor bullying issues, but nothing too major. However, I had seen how one event, one embarrassing moment, could lead to the expulsion of an individual from a peer group, leading to a random person becoming that guy that everyone picked on. I still had affection for Dad, so when it was time for the school award ceremony, I asked if he could come. I expected him to say yes, but to not turn up, as was the pattern until that point. I was used to being let down on that front, and yet I still perpetually tried to show him I was good at things. I wanted him to be proud of me, to tell me that I'd done well at something and that he was happy for me. So when I was up on stage and saw him entering, my heart skipped a beat. For a brief instant, I was happy. He did care. That was until a close friend of mine spoke. "Who let the bum in?" Upon hearing the comment, I looked around in search for the bum. Why would a bum come to a school ceremony just to watch the awards? Then I realised who he was talking about. In that moment, I saw Dad for what he really was. For years, that moment has stood out in my psyche as one of the most vivid and poignant instances of my childhood. It was by no means the most traumatic thing I've gone through, but it was significant. It was the moment that I decided to completely cut him out of my life. Previously, he'd just been my dad. I recognised that he had his issues and dramas, but I was naive and forgiving. I noticed some of the differences between him and other dads, but I didn't pay it much attention. That all changed. It was 6th period, and the school's large basketball stadium was converted for the award ceremony. My dad was entering a room which was filled with thousands of students, as well as hundreds of parents and teachers, people that I interacted with each day, people that judged me and knew me, my friends, my enemies, my world, dressed like that. On his feet he wore thongs, old and broken, revealing his toes. Disgusting and yellow, his toenails were plagued with a fungal infection that caused deformity and swelling. It was so unsightly that you wouldn't want to touch the ground he was walking on. He was wearing his usual track pants, so old that any branding had long since faded away. They were coloured a light blue, but were interposed with a random assortment of coloured stains and moth holes. He wore them low, barely held up by the thread around his fading waistline. His shirt was an old red farmer's flannel top, at least 2 sizes too small for him. That day, he chose to button it up incorrectly, revealing some of his chest hair. To keep himself warm, he wore a small black beanie on his head which framed his unkempt facial hair. Finally, across his eyelids were numerous visible fatty deposits. These looked like unpopped pimples, with the smallest being the size of a 5-cent coin. That was my dad. He dressed this way all the time, yet only now was I finally awake to the truth of what he looked like. He really was a bum. I didn't respond with anything other than a laugh when my friends continued to bag him out. As he walked into the room past the teachers, parents, and other students, a strange thing started to happen. Even before they saw him, they were all starting to recoil away from him. The teachers were whispering to themselves about something that clearly had to do with Dad. The students' reactions told the full story. You know how over the top kids can be when somebody farts in class? Gasping for breath, pinching their noses, and pretending to suffocate? That's what they were doing. All of them. As Dad walked past, he left a wave of students struggling to breathe. It would have been hilarious had it been anyone else. I never got close enough to Dad to smell him that day, but I've no doubt that this time they were not overreacting. He was lucky to shower or change his clothes once every couple of weeks. Subsequently, he always had a distinct odour, akin to body odour mixed with mould and marijuana.